Erstklassisch mit Mischke, der musikalische Podcast des Hamburger Abendblatts.
Schönen guten Tag zu einer neuen Folge von Erstklassisch mit Mischke. Wie immer bin ich in meinem Arbeitszimmer leider noch und wie immer ist mein Gast ganz woanders. Diesmal ist er, ich nehme es an, in Paris und es ist ein Sänger, ein ganz besonderer Sänger, ein Countertenor, nämlich Philippe Jaroussky. Wer sich ein bisschen auskennt in dieser Musikszene, kann diesen Namen nicht gehört haben. Vielen Dank, Herr Jaroussky, dass Sie da sind. Bonjour geradezu. Nice meeting you and nice talking to you.
Ja, guten Morgen und vielen Dank für die Einladung.
Gern geschehen. But we continue in English because my French is not existent. So,
und mein Deutsch ist ein bisschen müde.
Okay. I always start with an easy question or a difficult one. What would you like first?
Oh, as you want.
Okay. The easy one is then, what is luck in your profession?
Luck, you mean?
Yes, luck.
Oh, I think like a lot of artists, I feel privileged, of course, to be able to do this job. This year is a bit more complicated for everybody, for sure. Mm-hmm. But what is amazing, the chance to be a musician generally, and to be kind of successful musicians, because we, of course, I feel very lucky because everything has been so easy for me. Not at the instruments. When I was violinist or pianist, I was struggling a lot. But when I started to sing, I had my first engagements. I was 20 years old and everything was going quite easily for me. The chance is that you never have the feeling that you are working, actually, which is everything is exciting. Then you go to concerts, you prepare. Of course, you have a lot of pressure. Sometimes you're very disappointed about yourself. But in a way, this is a big chance. And, particularly this year, of course, during the first lockdown, even the second now in France, I play the piano, you see here. Mm-hmm. I play the piano a lot, like 2-3 hours by day. And then I never get bored because I have the music around me all the time. I'm thinking in music. Sometimes it's a bit too much, but it's how I feel to be a musician. This is really a great chance.
Mm-hmm. So you're completely spoiled for a normal life. It's too late for you to change into a normal, regular professional. You couldn't imagine working somewhere else and really be working and not singing.
I think I don't have the brain anymore for that. There is a part of my brain is not working that good, Let's say my mother is always telling me that there is just one part of the brain is working, the rest is a disaster.
You find your way home every day.
Yeah, but sometimes not.
Okay. The tricky question then, where do you see yourself in 10 years being a singer?
Oh, and this is probably the big challenge of the next years. I already said in interviews these last years that I don't see myself maybe singing at that rhythm in 10 years or in 20 years. And probably the voice of a countertenor is maybe not for that. What I mean, it's true that we are really trying to keep this kind of voice very fresh, very light. And I don't see myself like a baritone bass who just sometimes are starting to sing some parts at 50 years old, not before. Me, I feel that my voice, I think, is still in progress. It's always a work in progress. My body is changing. Maybe when I'm still working a lot with my teacher on Skype during the lockdown also. And then we find new colors already. Then we found new things possible. Then it's very exciting. But in the same moment, I know that I want to do something else. I was a musician before to become a singer, and I hope to stay a musician after. And I already preparing this new life, because I will start to conduct next year. I will do my first project conducting and not singing at all.
What's in the program?
Yes, and it will be an oratorio by Alessandro Scarlatti. I will also do it in Dortmund during my carte blanche. And I'm conducting my first opera in 2 years in Paris. Then it's very exciting.
Can you tell me?
And the idea, of course, is not to stop directly to sing, but little by little do more and more projects conducting, and maybe after also, I think it's very important, the young generation singing.
Which opera will it be in Paris then?
For the moment, it's a small secret, but that will be a Baroque one. It will be a Handel opera.
Okay,
it's a beautiful cast.
Okay, there's few to pick from.
Yeah, but I already think about myself entering in the pit for the first time, conducting an opera of 4 hours, and I'm sure I will freak out.
So the major feeling is not joy, but fear.
Yes, because I measure the difference. Of course, as a singer, you have a lot of pressure because as you see, the sun is shining in Paris a bit. But you have the pressure because you never know if you will get the voice you want the evening of a concert. But I think the pressure is also huge as a conductor, because you have the responsibility of all the show. If there is a singer is doing a mistake, or is forgetting his phrase, or is falling on the floor, or if he is sick, then you need to find another singer at the last moment. You have all this pressure, and it's probably maybe even much more work than just to sing your part.
And all the lousy excuses that singers can come up with when they make mistakes, and you can always correct them and tell them, I've told this as an excuse as well. Don't come me with a nonsense like this. Yes,
and I think I will try to stay very nice conductor, because the idea also then I don't want to say bad things, but particularly in opera productions, sometimes we are suffering, singers, because we rehearse for more than 1 month the stage. We feel very prepared. This is very intense. Then sometimes you arrive, you're just already tired. The orchestra is arriving more and more. This is what I criticize in the world of opera. You have less and less rehearsals for just the music. And sometimes the orchestra, we have just like few rehearsals with them directly on stage. And then you cannot connect with the musicians. You don't get the tempo you had in rehearsals. Then you have to sing, by the way, because you have no choice. And this is a difficult world. We can have a lot of pleasure in opera, but that can be also a nightmare if you don't get the connection with the conductor. And I remember a phrase of Maestro Diego Fazolis I like very much. He say, don't be too pushy with the singers. What you will hear in the first musical rehearsal will be approximately what you will hear at the first premiere, at the premiere performance. And I think it's quite funny, but it's a way also to say that you have to accept, you have to be very kind with your singers. Of course, you can try to make them sing better and at the best, but also accept who they are. This is very important, I think, in the process of conducting, probably. Let's talk about your current project. You've just made a recording and it's out in the market, and it's called La Vanità del Mondo, the vanity of the world. What's the idea of this project, and how does it relate to the present tense, which is so confusing and so alarming in so many ways and for such a long time now? Yes. Now, the idea of the project first, of course, was to dedicate an entire album to the music of oratorio. I have the chance to record for more than 20 years. I recorded a lot of Baroque projects, but not only Baroque projects. And after 20 years, each album has to be like to complete something. I don't want to do always the same the same Baroque album with castrato arias, and we need to find some differences. Then I dedicated, for example, in the past, an entire CD to Carestini. I did a Johann Christian Bach CD, Caldara, Porpora. But I was always very attracted from the very beginning of my career with the oratorios, but I never made an album. That was the first idea, and there were like 2-3 arias I really wanted to record in my life. That was the beginning of the project. Certainly the beautiful aria from Scarlatti, Giuditta, Dormi, which is a very, very special aria for me. And then, as I was doing as usual, I was looking for scores. And of course, this repertoire is limitless. There is so much music. That's why we have a lot of premiere studio recordings in the album. And of course, then I started to choose the arias. This is one of my passions, is to build a program with contrast, with a lot of different ideas. I always say that to compose an album is a bit like to create a perfume, and it is to equilibrate things. And of course, after you have to choose the title. First, no, I forgot that, of course, the CD is a bit a miracle because we were supposed to record it in April. Of course, it was cancelled. And we were running a bit because we wanted to get the CD ready for the tour this winter. Of course, now the tour is a bit uncertain. All the concerts are cancelled for November. I'm trying to stay optimistic for December and January. And for the concerts in Germany, I don't know how it is now, but I know it's quite uncertain. I think Angela Merkel is meeting some people these days.
Doing today, yes.
Today, exactly. And then it was a bit a miracle because we recorded in June with the distanciations, with all these things, and now we have this album. Then when you look for the title, first you just check what you choose as arias, oratorios. And of course, La Vanità del Mondo is an oratorio by Pietro Torri, a quite unknown composer. And I thought that was sounding very, very well. And it was entering in resonance with what we are improving now and probably what we will improve in the next years. Because first, when we thought that this crisis will be for a few months, we thought nothing will change because the people, they will come back to their former lives. They will travel again. They will do everything. But now we know that this crisis will be almost more than 1 year. We can feel that it will deeply change the way we act, the way we have interactions between people, the way probably we will travel. Then I think, and curiously, I think it's difficult to, of course, these areas are not speaking about what we are living now, but they are speaking most of the time about how normal human beings are quite disappointing sometimes, narcissistic, and they don't realize that they are.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, we had a short intermission, a short problem.
Short one, yeah.
Yes, but what I wanted to ask is, how do you cling to a project like this? How do you keep yourself? What's the worst problem? The self-motivation or the lack of motivation, and maybe even the fear of not being as important as you've always thought, being an artist? How do you manage to keep yourself steady and up doing a project like this when you have all these problems like canceling a tour date, being sure how everything is going to work out? And
it's not easy because I think sometimes maybe a part of the audience, they don't know a lot about the backstage of making a recording. making a recording is, of course, a lot of organization before. You need to reserve the place. You need to find the sound engineer.
And it's complicated under new conditions.
Yes, and it's a long process. Then when it's cancelled, you have to do it everything again. Particularly also to engage my musicians. In June, it was impossible for a part of my musicians to come in Paris because some of them, they are living in Spain or in Italy. My first violin is living in Santiago de Chile. Then, of course, he couldn't come for this project. Then I also needed to find new musicians. And that was a long process. And, of course, we did our best to do this album. The good thing probably is probably I had more time to rehearse at home because as the project was cancelled in April, I was practicing these arias during almost 2 months at home before to record it. Then that was also sometimes in each situation you can have a good point because normally I would have been in tour doing other stuff, you know what I mean, doing other programs, and maybe I would have less preparation for my part. But for example, in this case, normally I had 2 concerts before the recording to improve the program in concerts, and then we couldn't get this chance. Then we almost recorded directly. Then it was also a trouble, but it was also very joyful. A lot of arias are not that joyful, of course. They are very passionate and sad sometimes. But suddenly, all the frustration to just do music alone at your place for 2 months vanished when I saw and met again my musicians. And I think it was a special project for that because everybody was so happy to play together after this long months of frustration and fear. Then actually, I remember that for a lot of us to record this project was the first thing we did after the lockdown.
So it's not a recording project, but a group therapy more.
Kind of, yes. And of course, we needed to. We had 2 days of rehearsals to find and to read this course, also this music, because most of this music is totally unknown. Then, you know, in Baroque music, sometimes almost nothing is written in the score. You have the notes, but you have to decide all the dynamics, the tempo, the orchestration sometimes. We played a lot in this CD. We have an harpsichord and an organ. And then sometimes we play just with the oboe or with the harpsichord, with the organ. You need to try all these things before to record it. And sometimes, even during the recording, you change mind.
So this is the ideal point for me to come with the sort of silly questions. The first
you have a lot of silly questions this morning.
Yeah, but what's so satisfying in performing and interacting with music that is more than 300 years old? I mean, this is ages ago, decades ago. What's the fun? What's the joy of interacting with music so old?
Yes, I think, you know, I think as a musician, I think it's not a question of how old it is. I think each composer, and then we are speaking about great composers. It depends. I think sometimes, for example, Monteverdi is much modern brain than even Mozart sometimes. It's a bit provocative what I say, but finally, play the music of a composer is in a way entering in his brain and his way to think and his way to his process to create. And each of them, they have a different process. I think some of them, maybe they are more into a Baroque tradition, but talking again about this aria by Scarlatti, I think it's very modern. It sounds like a repetitive music from Philip Glass. It's totally hypnotic. And I don't think it's only Baroque music, and the atmosphere is so special. The pleasure is probably, I will tell you something about, because I have this chance to have done a lot of music before, to sing, even composition a bit. Then for Baroque music, for me, it's quite easy when I read the score, I read the manuscript, to listen to the music,
internally.
Kind of. Then that's why for me, I after reading the scores 2-3 times, I know approximatively if the aria is interesting enough or not. But sometimes you get surprises, because when you put a score in live with the articulation of the instruments, it can change totally your perception of the aria. Then sometimes you have an aria, it doesn't look that interesting, and then suddenly when you play with instruments, with the articulation, it's coming back all its flavor. And then it's sometimes it's weird, and sometimes I'm super enthusiastic about an aria, and when we play it, it looks a bit complicated, boring. Then sometimes you can get surprises also. But the pleasure is probably to put that in life again. And also my great pleasure, it's probably because of that I want to become a conductor, is to really choose all the details. From where is coming a phrase to another, to find a good color. For example, at the da capo, when the aria is starting again, trying to find a new color. This is all these details who makes me probably a Baroque musician, of course.
Mm-hmm. If you were not a singer in your profession, but a pop musician, I could ask you the next sort of silly question: Rolling Stones or Beatles? In your case, it would be Bach or Handel. Which is your favorite?
The first case, I would choose the Beatles.
Okay.
It's more my personality. And for the second question, it's very silly. For my personal part, I would choose Handel, because I feel more at home. And Bach always frightened me a lot. I did just one project with 2 cantatas, and I always say that there are 2 different kind of musicians, and Bach, it's separating in 2 cases. There is some people who are super comfortable with Bach from the very beginning, and recording Bach from the very beginning. There is a lot of musicians there. Bach is in their blood, and other people who are totally afraid by him. And that's probably my case. I remember when I sang the Saint Matthew Passion, and I arrived on the Erbarme-dich. This is this kind of aria. When you sing the first phrase, you already feel like shit, and you just want to start again, because you feel the music is so perfect. Then you cannot be as perfect at the and then what is difficult with Bach, and then you have to accept your imperfection. Can be very useful for the perfection of his music, but it's a long process for me.
Okay, interesting. Let's change the topics somehow. Your ensemble Arthas Verse, you founded it in 2002, I think. Are you sort of the chief? Are you responsible for everything? Are you responsible as well for trying to get money for them in this situation? Is there any state help for the orchestra coming from the government, or are you completely on your own now?
I'm completely on my own from the beginning. Until now, we were managing to get to get paid my musicians because I was singing, and then it was quite easy to find the budget to rehearse, to make the concerts, to make big concert tours. In the future, it won't be another thing. If I'm starting to conduct, for example, my first project, I have 6 singers, And then, of course, I will need more help. And then I realized that it will be probably a big challenge for me. I created this group for one reason. First, it was just few musicians, like a chamber, a continuo, like an harpsichord, a theorbo, a cello. And it was growing during the years because first, my voice was quite special from the very beginning. I'm not a very low countertenor. Then that's why I never sang so much alto parts. But I'm not a very high countertenor, even if my color is quite clear. And then for me, particularly to find opera parts when I was young, was not that easy. Then I thought, let's create my own group. Then I can choose the music who is good for me and not wait to someone who is engaging me. And then I was very curious about the repertoire from the very beginning. Then projects were quite easy to find. And of course, the way I'm conducting my group, it's also a mix of all the inspiration I got from other conductors. Spinozzi, William Christie, Emmanuel Haim, Diego Fazolis we talk about. And then, of course, it's also a mix of inspirations, what I like to hear. And then I think more and more I'm ready. Once I got a critique of a concert saying that my group was 10 times better than me. They did a better job than me.
Oh.
I was quite happy about that because in a way I said everything to them in the rehearsals about dynamics, about what I wanted. I made them work a lot, and then I say that's a good thing if they sound better than me now.
But to come back to the question, are you in charge of trying to get some state support now in this situation? Is there any support now?
I will. That will be this is the part of the game when you conduct a group and a Baroque group. I did that a lot with my academy. I have an academy in close to Paris, supporting young talents and play music young children.
La scène musicale.
Yes, exactly. And it's true that these last 4 years, I had to, of course, find money for this project. Then I know how it is hard. And what is difficult also, I don't know in Germany, but in France, we have already a lot of Baroque ensemble. And there is a big group of Baroque ensembles. And then why another one, even if it exists for 15 years. And now I know that some Baroque group in France, they are struggling to find money to survive. Then I know that it's not because I'm quite famous singer, then I will get money easily to do this project to become a conductor. Maybe I will fail. I don't know. We'll see in 2-3 years if I passed this process. And then you're totally right. A part of the job is really to find supports, and because if you don't have it, you cannot do the project you are dreaming about.
But right now you don't have any state support, actually.
Not at all. For the moment, not at all. It's already a miracle that we did all that without any support. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Since you just mentioned it, you seem to know my questions beforehand. Regular tenors some tenors their voice tends to go downward with age. And the most famous example for a tenor changing himself into a baritone is Plácido Domingo, who sings deeper parts now and who doesn't have the high notes anymore. I mean, it's quite natural in that age. But does this happen with countertenors as well? Do you sink somehow? Is it more difficult, more complicated, more stressful, singing higher areas when you're getting older? Or is this just, can you stay up there for as long as you want?
Yeah, until now, I have the feeling that the range didn't change that much. Maybe I have lost, let's say, one tune in the high. Mm-hmm. And maybe the voice is more in the body, and then the technique is more stable. Then I can reach the high notes, but in a different way than 20 years ago. When I was singing high, when I was young, I didn't think about. That was easy. Then I was like, oh, this is A, I don't care. It was my... no, when I see these high notes, I had to, of course, think a bit more about what I will do. I would say that this album, this Vanità del Mondo, I don't know, we never know, but it's probably one of my last very baroque project. I mean, with a lot of virtuosity also. There is some very difficult areas to sing. And probably you're right, the voice is changing a lot. And I would say that these last years, countertenors, they were more and more focused about virtuosity, castrato repertoire, Napolitan music, for example, Porpora, Vinci. I'm thinking about my colleagues, my dear colleagues like Cenci, Fagioli. You are more and more coming. And then maybe I had the feeling that probably some of us, we forget a bit about which repertoire we are coming from. I mean, why not doing more Bach, Purcell, Dowland, Bird, maybe more intimate music? And I think I have in this area, like chamber cantatas also, I have still a lot of projects in mind as a singer. But probably for big opera arias or stuff like this, I think probably I did my time.
Okay. Now another sort of silly question. Your natural voice, your natural singing voice, as far as I've read, is something like tenor or baritone even. So it's a deeper voice. That's true?
Yeah, and then that was also something very special in my voice. Then I was able to sing high, but I'm not a tenor. I am a baritone.
Okay, that's the first part of my question. The second part is, would you be able to sing professionally as a baritone now, or is your technique completely different and that's out of the question now because you're trained to sing up there? Or could you switch to just relax and sing like a baritone?
No, I don't think so. My baritone voice has nothing spectacular. And I have almost one good octave in the voice. Mm-hmm. And but by the way, I'm even still with my teacher. We are still practicing the voice, voice. When I do exercises, I start with my baritone voice, then which is the closest from my speaking voice. And after I go in my head voice as a countertenor. And what was always quite difficult for me is to pass from the register to another. And I would be a tenor. It would be easier for me to approach some alto parts, because a lot of my colleagues, they have this capacity to do all the low notes in chest voice, like a tenor. And for me, it was always difficult. Then I had to stay in my mixed voice, and it is more fragile. And then, in a way, more and more, I'm still practicing this passage, which is never has been easy for me. And
imagine the surprise of an audience when you, as an encore after the regular concert, when you start singing in your regular singing voice.
That I already did that as a joke in an encore in a recital of French song.
And everybody was shocked,
and it was funny. But I remember that I received the critic. It was in Carnegie Hall, and the critics say that the effect was if I would put my my trousers are out, and he didn't like it at all. But no, my definitively, I always thought that I was a countertenor from the very beginning. When my teacher, she gave me my first course, I was 18. I was still a violinist, but I came and she said, "Oh, you have a nice capacity, but the voice is quite small. I'm not sure you will become a countertenor." And apparently I say to her, "You have to believe me. I know that I will be a countertenor." It's weird. It's like this vocation in your mind. It's like you can project yourself working on your voice. It's like I think vocation is like fire on your body. It's a beautiful feeling. There is people they know from the very very beginning they will become a surgeon or doctor, and they know that from 6-7 years old. It's a fantastic feeling, I think, in life to know about what you really want to do.
A few years ago, I had the chance to be in Paris and to be at Théâtre Champs-Élysées and see the concert version of your Artaserse All-Star Band, where you have these 5 countertenors on stage, and amazing. And the opera version or the staged version of that must have been like an Elton John concert. Everybody had these amazing costumes. Everybody looked weirder than the next guy. What's it like? I mean, do you enjoy? How much fun is it being so far over the top and dressing up like this and coming on stage like big divas surrounded by feathers and costumes?
Yes, I think the success of this production, of course, first was the music, because even if Artaserse by Vici was one of the most famous opera in the 18th century. You have copies of this opera in almost all the libraries in Europe. Then suddenly we discover why this opera was so successful. Second, of course, the team. We had an impressive countertenor team, and the staging, because of course for the first time we could approach. Of course, we are not castrato, but we could approach what was a castrato on stage, which means that, of course, he was covered with feathers, this white, sad makeup because of the candles.
Yeah,
and
yes.
And then it was like a bit spectacular and a bit ridiculous in a way. It was like in between, and then it was sometimes very entertaining and a bit sad to see us on stage with this huge costume, makeup, and I think the people they really loved this because they thought they could find a truthness in how it was at this period, and the fact that a castrato is only purpose in life was to be on stage with this weird costume, but when he was going out, he was probably most of them very sad. And I think this production had something magical on that, because you can, even if it was sometimes modern costumes, not totally Baroque costumes, you could imagine how it was at this period.
Because I thought of it when I saw Elton John, the biopic Rocket Man. I thought these shows just looked like Artaserse back then. All these feathers, all these weird costumes. And all this, Las Vegas style on stage. Amazing. Must have been so much fun going out there like in a big rock show and going out there and I have the most feathers. I have the most spectacular costume.
Yes, and I think it happened to a time when people, they just want to see that. See, they didn't want to see something real. And then most of the time I have to defend modern staging, because people they come to me and they say, I hate this modern staging. We want Baroque. We want 100% Baroque thing. And I have to defend also the modern staging, because sometimes we are making an amazing work about what is feeling the character, we are in process. It's most of the times it's super interesting with the stage directors, but the people, they don't like the visual. They want to dream. They want to dream about this past. They want to escape the reality. And then when you put too much reality on stage, they feel sometimes a bit disappointed. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, this production was not real at all. But sometimes we have to say a bit ridiculous, because I remember when I tried my last costume when I arrived as a king, mm-hmm. and I have these 2 golden doors opening. I was so proud with these big feathers, and I was moving like a top model. And the stage director said, no, just move as simple as possible, because you will kill everything. The costume is already giving that impression.
Since you're mostly singing Baroque with your voice, you've done a few tries with Schubert songs and later repertoire. Do you actually miss this kind of music, or is it not for you and you don't care that you are not singing Schubert songs or Beethoven songs or maybe even Mahler? Or is this some sort of...
No, of course I care. I care a lot, and I think I try to contribute to say something very important about countertenors. Most of the Baroque music are not composed for countertenors, and it's composed for quite a different voice. The castrato voice was, we know, physically very different. Then my purpose is to say, my goal in these last 15 years is to say that a countertenor can choose other repertories where he feel at home. And I often say that sometimes I feel better at home in a lead from Schubert or a song from Gabriel Fauré with just piano than a huge Baroque opera aria composed for Farinelli or Caffarelli, because I feel myself more as a musician than just a singer. And I can say that I did this tour of Schubert Lieder, and I never worked that much a program in my life. That was a fantastic school for me. And then a lot of people, they know that we recorded the first version and I was not happy enough about. Then after the tour, I recorded a second version. And we will probably release this CD of Schubert in 2 years, maybe. Okay. But I really try to, say that to people. A countertenor is a musician also. It's not only someone weird we can sing high, Mm-hmm. And but of course Schubert was for me maybe the best school for humility, and that's, I don't regret that, and it made me progress a lot, for sure.
Hanna Prohaska, a colleague of yours, soprano, just mentioned in an interview that her dream role would be Wotan in Wagner's Ring. It's quite impossible for her.
I recognize Anna in this answer.
But is there if you could choose like that, is there any role that you would love to sing with a different voice? Is there?
If I had a different voice, mm-hmm. I think I would choose Isolde. Yeah. I think it must be so the pleasure to dominate a part like this, to work on this part for years, to arrive at the death at the end, the Liebestod, and then to have sung the entire opera. It must be a sensation of accomplishment. Can be I can imagine all the pleasure to get that, for sure.
And singing louder than this big orchestra for half a day, all the time being on stage, shouting like hell.
Yeah, and then to really get the voice to sing that, and then to float, to surround the orchestra, surrounded by this orchestra. That must be a different pleasure that I have, for sure.
Okay, so William Christie once told me that he would like to be reborn as Aretha Franklin. So you would like to be reborn as a Wagner soprano then?
Yes, like maybe Kirsten Flagstad or no, actually, there is a voice I really enjoy a lot, and that's probably the kind of voice I would love to get. It's Leontine Price. I could hear Leontine Price for hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I found a quote from you. You said once, "I am lazy." How bad is it? How lazy are you actually?
I think, we are in a society where people have always to stay hyper positive. We need to be always in good mood. And I think it's a bit boring at the time. And sometimes it's important to be lazy sometimes. And then sometimes if I don't want to sing, I don't want to work, I don't. If I have the possibility, of course. And I'm very lazy for a lot of things. I hate to clean. I hate to. I'm. How do you say? Procrastinate a lot.
Yeah. So you just don't do things which are necessary to
I'm
be
always doing things when I have to do it. But if I don't have, I let it for the day after. Mm-hmm. And it probably sometimes allowed me to take the good decisions, because sometimes if you just say react too quickly, sometimes you take bad decisions. That sometimes this way to always say, no, let me think about, I will tell you later. Sometimes it helps to get the good decisions also. Sometimes it's a mistake.
And one other thing I found about you, that you enjoy traveling. I mean, traveling not as a singer, as a professional musician, but traveling as yourself, so to speak.
Yeah.
Just to end things up, what's the worst thing that happened to you on a journey like this, where you lost on an airport in Japan, or did you lose all your luggage in Indonesia, or what's the worst part? The fun of traveling is often getting somewhere.
I think the worst I did is that I made a recording with, I was in Zurich and I was rehearsing Alcina with Cecilia Bartoli. Mm-hmm. And in between, I had to make a small recording with Diego Fazolis in Lugano. Then I take the train. I came back to Zurich, and this is special for Hamburg, by the way, because after the last performance of Alcina, I had to go the day after to make the official opening of Elbphilharmonie.
Okay, yeah.
And when I just packed my luggage, I just realized that I didn't have my passport anymore, and I didn't have any ID with me. And then I had to take the flight, and it was such a big stress. Fortunately, to leave Switzerland, you don't need to get an ID, which is a bit crazy. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I arrived in Hamburg at the airport, I was just like, because I could get a control in Germany, and then if I didn't have an ID, I couldn't make the opening of the Elbphilharmonie. That was the big stress. And then this day, I will remember forever. But I was very lucky because before to leave Hamburg, 2 days after, someone found my passport in a train in Switzerland and just knew me, just checked on internet where I was supposed to be, and just contacted Zurich Opera House. And there's 2 hours before to take my flight for Paris, I received my passport. Then I'm sometimes I think I have an angel taking care of me.
But I guess the passport control would have let you through when you told them, "Oh, I'm a singer. I have to sing at the opening of Elbphilharmonie." You'd be fine, and they'd let you through, I guess.
Yeah, but as you know, it's true that traveling sometimes it can happen really shitty things, for sure. We need to take care.
But since you're a singer, you'll hopefully have the chance to travel a lot soon, and see what you want to see and go where you want to go, and not take care about any precautions anymore. And life will just be normal somehow soon, hopefully.
Yes, but in a way, as an artist, I have also to think about. I remember even the last tours before the pandemic. For example, this year in October, I was supposed to make a big tour in South America. And I was changing country each 2 days for just making a concert. And I'm thinking, is it really that important that we need to do that, And probably I think even us singers, we need to think about what is my impact as a citizen on the earth, and as important than that to just travel, get always to hotels, changing white sheets all the time. That's why for me, it's always complicated when I hear an artist giving lessons to people saying, you need to take care about the earth, because if I need to care about the earth, I should stay at home, not travel like that. Then this is a paradox to be an artist also.
That's great last words for now. I'm really thankful. It's been a great talk. It's been so much fun talking to you, and hopefully we'll meet soon over here in Hamburg. Your concert is in January.
In January, yes. I hope I can present this program in Het Philharmonie. I hope so.
Okay, so thank you very much for now, and enjoy your life in Paris as much as is possible right now. I think you're living in Marais, so there might be quite cafes all around you, but you can't go there. So
no, I can do nothing. But let's stay optimistic, and ich wünsche alle frohe Festtage.
Ja.
Trotz der aktuellen Umstände und bis bald.
Vielen Dank dann. Bis bald und passen Sie auf sich auf und schöne Weihnachten, und wir sehen uns. Vielen Dank.
Weitere Podcasts vom Hamburger Abendblatt finden Sie auf abendblatt.de/podcast.